Ironically, I'm taking the recording of this podcast quite personally because this is my fourth or fifth take. So let's rock into it for real this time. Got the microphone ready and we're ready to go.
You are listening to What We Should Have Learned in School.
I just had the inspiration to just follow up on last week's podcast episode, which was on the topic of taking things kind of very personally and the issue of overthinking and giving importance to the thoughts that come into our head, especially the thoughts that tend to be repetitive. They tend to be pretty negative and self degrading or self critical. And my kind of invitation to you is getting stuck in that rat race, is indulging all the things that you feel that you have to do or shouldn't do, really a worthwhile use of our time? And does it ultimately bring us to the solutions that we're seeking? Or does it often bring us to the solutions that we're seeking? And if I'm honest, in my experience, often when I'm working myself up, when an issue seems sticky, quote unquote, when I'm seeing it as a need or a chance to maybe prove myself, as I have thought of with my music career, right? I've been having this very weird relationship with music and putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on myself and putting a lot of labeling on myself and a lot of reasons why I can't do perhaps a certain music style because of how I look and where I'm from and my gender, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just wanted to share that even though I am the person who is the kind of voice of this podcast and the brand of it per se, that I am also in a continual process of growth and evolution, and that I had a pretty big aha moment yesterday when I was sitting talking to my sister-in-law, and I was just a bit in a funk and kind of in a sticky space with, I never pursue music, and why am I not doing anything with music? And there was a block party last weekend, and there was a rap stage, and there were tons of dudes up there rapping, and why wouldn't have I participated in that? Why didn't I put myself out there to do something like that? And so it was kind of, creating a ruckus in my head. And as I was talking to my sister-in-law, became aware of what I was doing. And I was in that cycle of really being self-obsessed that we talked about, last episode. And this is pretty normal, I think, for us to go in and out of the mode of really hyper focusing on just ourselves and our problems, and we shit ourselves to death. Sounds like shit ourselves to death. Sometimes we do that too. But we should ourselves to death, or we, felt like yesterday I felt, for instance, oh, I should be more productive today, and I should have done this, that, and this, and I didn't get all these things done, and I shouldn't have done this, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just want to share again that that's completely normal, and that we also have the ability to become aware of that. And in those moments of awareness, we kind of see that, yeah, I'm doing it. And it releases a little bit of that tension, at least for me, a bit, so that I can be more present in my life and really focus on what's relevant, because the stories of all the things you should do, the cause and effect that you're creating in your mind, is most likely not a true cause and effect relationship. We often think that, okay, well, if I went on that stage, then I would be doing something with my music and more people would know about me, and maybe a manager would have seen me, and then maybe I would have a career in Finland, right? And all of those things are just not true. It's when we see that there's not such a loaded pressure on every moment that we're living, an amazing ability to just lean into the moment and live exists. And so that's what I want to share with you today, that it's normal to go in and out of taking things personally. It's maybe normal to be caught in cycles where you're thinking about all the things that you should do or could have done, or etc. But there's also the piece of being self-obsessed that sometimes can provide a nice feeling too. It can provide feelings of gratitude or of feeling proud of oneself, because that's kind of the other side of the coin when we're playing in that realm of dichotomy, when we're playing with thought as these are good thoughts and these are bad thoughts. And none of it's wrong. Again, today is my birthday. So this is a pretty personal day by the nature of it, right? And so I've reflected on the past year and I realized all the things that I was telling myself were not really even accurate because I did do a lot music career wise over this past year. And so that's the point. It's our personal thinking is so moldable and flexible and subject to change. You know, when you read the terms and conditions on something, and then in the little fine print, it will say subject to change. Well, that statement could apply to anything we think of as a personal quote unquote truth, as it's always been this way, and so it will always be this way in the future, or if I do this, then that will happen. And all of that's subject to change. So maybe we don't need to engage with it as hard as we've been going at it, and we can just lean into life. We can look at how do we really want to spend our time? Are we enjoying what we're doing? And I've also had this weird sensation over the past year that I can actually have a little bit of enjoyment even when I'm a little miserable, which sounds really weird. And maybe I'll try to find a better way to describe that. But that's the potential, that we see that everything is subject to change, including really strong beliefs so strong that we think that it's really the reality. But then there's always that potential for grace to open up, for a eureka moment to occur, for a moment of awareness to occur. This is all just different ways of saying basically the same thing. And so I wish you a very beautiful day, and I am looking forward to speaking with you again next time. Until next time, take it personally or don't. Whatever works. It's all part of being human. Okay, maybe that didn't make any sense and wasn't as profound as I anticipated it to be, but that's a perfect example. You see? Cause, effect. Doesn't exist in the way that we think that it does. You've been listening to What We Should Have Learned in School. I'm your host, Amy Leo, and I would encourage you to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because one simple click really could make all the difference, or not.